Before we go into this week's episode, I wanted to share a quote with you that has really resonated with me. Whatever is happening outside of the yoga room is happening inside of the yoga room because we bring it into the space. That is a quote from Michelle Cassandra Johnson, who was a social justice warrior, healer, activist, and the author of Skill in Action. Michelle will be hosting a Dismantling Racism workshop at the end of June and early July. You can find a link to her workshop in the show notes below. Hi, I am Lauren, the host and creator of the Yogakane podcast, and it's time to live yoga off the mat. Knowing better, I now must do better. Change starts from within. It's time for us to up-level so we can collectively transcend not only how we think, but how we act, to demand change in ourselves and in society to reflect equality. The bounds are off, as the podcast is no longer solely focusing on the Pacific Northwest region. I welcome guests from all over the nation and the world. So if there's someone in your community, or if that somebody is you that you would like to hear on the podcast, please connect with me. And let's get you or your friend behind the mic. Please enjoy this week's episode of the Yogakane podcast with Crystal Mintz. Crystal is a yoga teacher from Washington, D.C., who utilizes meditation to empower her students. Every Monday, Crystal hosts a virtual meditation, which I will link to in the notes below. Just wanted to let you know that the audio in some parts of this podcast is a little poor, but it goes back to good quality as the show goes on, so please just keep with it, and thank you for understanding.
Hello.
Hey.
First of all, let me say my daughter is here. I had no intentions on her being here, so if you hear her.
What's her name again?
Samaya.
I just listened to your most recent podcast.
I feel like I was all over the place, but I was like, you know what? I'm publishing it.
I like it. I liked how you're doing different sections, like different topics.
Yeah.
In each thing, and I think it once it will begin to really evolve itself.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the style that you keep. So I mean, that was really cool. It was interesting to hear your take on the people recording George Floyd's death.
Oh yes. It took me a while to watch it, like I said, and once I saw it, I was like, you got to be kidding me. You mean to tell me they just sat there and recorded?
Yeah.
It was so upsetting for me.
Well, I haven't watched it, to be honest. I watched the killing of who was it? I watched the killing of a Black person a couple years ago, and I was so sick to my stomach that I've had a really hard time watching George Floyd's, and I haven't gotten there. And
I mean, really, it's nothing that you would want to see. I wouldn't want to see. I wouldn't even want to see it if I was watching a movie. But to see that, that's a person that really did die, I mean, but that's why people don't aid people anymore. It's all about who can get it up on the internet the fastest.
Well, when you said that, what I was beginning to think is that fight or flight response. And and I kind of am thinking about if I was there, I don't even know if I would be able to register what is going on.
Exactly.
And if I was a person of color, I don't want to put myself in your shoes, but there is such fear that the police brutality has put on the Black community that if anyone moved, they might have been fearful that they might have been killed.
Right. And I thought about that also, but they were talking trash the whole entire time. So if you're scared, you know what I'm saying? If you're scared, then why are you there? Why are you staying there to record it?
Yeah.
That's just, and I know I can't force people to think how I think. And people think differently, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes when you're in a situation, you don't know what you would do. But I've been with my mom many occasions, police officer doing something they have no business doing to a person, and they were not always Black. We called the police on the police. We always did that. Like, this officer is not doing.
I like your
and
mom.
And my mom would be like, I'm calling the police on you.
Good for her. Yeah, I do.
Higher authority, you know what I'm saying? There's always somebody higher than the person. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
Oh yeah, no worries.
So there's always somebody higher than you. There's always somebody higher in any situation. There's always somebody higher, right? So you see somebody doing something
you're
like nobody is above the law. Nobody. Am I back?
A little bit. Hang on, give it a minute. Okay, try again.
So I was saying that, like, nobody has all authority. Nobody is all high. You know what I'm saying? And in any situation, doesn't matter what the situation is. You go to a business, there's a manager, there's somebody over that manager, and there's somebody over that manager, you know, until you reach somebody that can make a change. So if you see a police officer doing something wrong, there's absolutely somebody else you can call. It doesn't end there.
Yeah. Well, when I lived in New York, there was the messages everywhere. It's like, if you see something, say something.
Say something.
And that's kind of so for the listeners out there, Crystal, it's like West, East Coast are merging. So Crystal's in Washington, D.C., and I am in Washington. Yeah. And over here in Washington and in Idaho, especially Idaho, that's a whole other conversation. There's not this like this call to action. Like, if you see something, say something. And that's why I think that's really important. Your message is like empowering the people who are Black, who are listeners to the podcast, to say stuff and to speak up and to reach out.
Yeah. 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. She needs you. Just like do your thing with her. It's all good, Crystal, really. She just is like
overbearing for no reason. You better not knock my clothes over.
She's just being too.
Yes. Like, when are you coming back to get her? Because
when's her birthday?
It's the 30th of this month.
Oh, so it's coming up.
Coming up.
Kind of around the solstice, the summer solstice.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God, you must have been so hot right now, pregnant with her.
No.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine. I said you must have been like so hot when you were carrying her in June.
Oh, you know, I was really, really small when I was carrying her. Like, it wasn't okay at all. Yeah, I was 9 months and people thought I was still like 6 months.
Oh, dang.
I was mom.
You're one of those cute pregnant people.
Like, you can't tell I'm pregnant from the back type of person. Like, oh, I did not know you were pregnant.
They're like, oh, hey. And they're like, oh, wait.
Yes.
I have not been pregnant yet, and I feel like I'm just going to, like, get big.
No, you never know. You
never
really
know.
know.
Were both of your pregnancies, like, different, how you carried the kid?
Yes. My son, I carried him kind of, it was like I was small all the way up until like the last final days, and then like my stomach just grew like out of nowhere. Like, it was like he finally stretched out, like stomach was like, whoa, it's not this big yesterday. but I carried them both very small. Like, people think you know how people try to predict what you're having. They just thought like, oh, that's gonna be a boy. And I was like, no, it's definitely a girl. So
did you want to see what you're gonna have before you?
Yes.
Yeah, you did. I don't want to. I want to like have it be a surprise.
Oh, I can't. I'm nosy as hell. I cannot. I cannot. But that would be fun though.
Well, I'm just looking forward to it because I don't want to get all of these like stupid pink or blue things. I just don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, I want neutral. I want like unique things that aren't just like all pink or all blue, you know?
Yeah.
That's just my own little thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So Crystal, you know, let's get this thing going.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. So welcome Crystal Mintz to the Yogakane podcast. It's an honor to have you on the show. And in today's episode, I really want to talk with you about what's going on with the Black Lives Movement and how that transcends into yoga, and get your take on it and hold space for you in this episode.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think a good place for us to start is to understand how you personally got into yoga and why you became a yoga teacher.
Okay. So initially when I first was introduced to yoga was about 7 years ago. I was taking a yoga class for muscle recovery after my workouts. And after taking yoga, I started noticing how I was feeling after my workout, after I did yoga with it, and when I didn't do yoga, how I felt. And the feeling was just completely different for me. And I was like, I gotta do yoga every time I work out, because if I don't, I'm gonna feel so like depleted. And it was almost like yoga was replenishing me from what workout that I did. I can't even remember if it actually helped me with muscle recovery because I was feeling so good. Like I was like most days, like before I was introduced to yoga, I would do my workout, which I hated, but I was doing it because I was like, I'm not going to be that mom. I'm not going to be that mom that just let herself go after the baby. And so after my workouts before yoga, I would go home and I would be so tired. I was like, I just feel so tired. Like I don't want to do anything else. But after yoga, and I know it's different for some people, but that's just how it made me feel. Yeah. And so after I would do yoga, I felt like, okay, I can continue on with the rest of my day and do everything that I planned to do. Like I didn't have an extra burst of energy after working out until I started adding yoga to my routine. And so that's how I started doing yoga. And then I took a nap one day and I was praying because I was like, the job that I was at, I was, you know, really, really like, I'm not feeling this job. I'm supposed to be doing something else. And so I went to sleep, took a nap after praying, and I woke up and it was like, do yoga, teach yoga. And I'm like, well, how do I get into that? You know, so I started doing research. And I looked some people up on Instagram. There was one girl, one of my friends introduced me to, and I talked to her about where she got her training and how she get into, you know, be a teacher. And she told me about the yoga district right here in DC. And so I went and I looked it up. The website was like completely foreign to me. I didn't know what I was looking at. So I'm just reading everything. Like after reading everything on the website, I was like, okay, so then they had this link where, you know, for yoga teacher training. And I saw the link and it was like the cost for yoga teacher training was like $3,500 or something like that. And I was like, God, I don't have $3,500.
It's so expensive.
Yeah. And so they had a scholarship program. And so I applied for the scholarship and I was thinking like, probably not going to get this scholarship. Like there must be a lot of people doing this. I just assumed. And it was like the next day, she was like, I got an email saying like, oh, we accept you into our program on scholarship. This is when it's going to start. This is what to expect. However, you will have to pay for your books, which was like $200 something, but I was on a payment plan. So they were only taking like $25 out of my account every couple of weeks or something. And I was like, oh, God, you listening to me?
You hear
so
me?
That's right. So, okay, so I'm supposed to do this. So I went and I did my training, and I'm like, it really just opened my eyes to so many different things. And like I said, in my mind, it's just for muscle recovery, and it has way more to offer than just muscle recovery, and that's really how I got into doing yoga. And I'm like, I absolutely love it.
It's amazing how the practice of, I say it's like on every episode, but the listeners are probably sick of it, but like, it's amazing how yoga cracks us open.
Oh, yes.
It starts physical. Like for me, Crystal, I thought yoga was just a work, like as well. I'm like, I thought it was just physical. And then what triggered me to do a training is I'm like, why do I feel this good? What is going on? And then I'm like, there's got to be more to yoga than like just what's in the studio. And that's just like what took me into the training.
Yeah.
Which just really, like you said, there's this woman named Michelle Cassandra Johnson. Have you ever heard of her?
I haven't.
So she does something called Skill in Action, and she's located, I think, in Seattle, but she's a social justice warrior and activist and author. And she said something recently that was really impactful to me. She said that yoga, I think I wrote it down. She said that the philosophy of yoga teaches us everything we need to know to live in a just world, a just and fair world.
Yes.
And that really just like opened up my eyes to show like how powerful yoga can be in this process of Black Lives Matter and bringing inclusivity to yoga.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that later. It's one of my last questions for you is like why there is that gap between, the Black community and yoga, because I think that's really important to talk about. But we'll get to that. We got to hook people,
Yeah.
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 Okay. So,
yes.
In our pre-show interview, Crystal, and on your podcast, which everyone needs to check out, I'm going to link to that in the show notes. You shared with me that gave me like clarity on the Black Lives Movement, and you said that this isn't like a Black person versus white person thing; it's racism versus everybody else.
Yeah.
So, could you unpack this a little bit more for the listeners and I?
Yes. So. I think, like I said, with everything that's going on with the police brutality, I think everybody is coming up with their own version of what's going on, or they want to make sub points and make a point to other things that are going on. Like, we have Black on Black crime. What about this person? And what about that person? And what about all of these other issues? And it's bringing division in between us as people. And so when in my yoga training, I think you said this before, or I read it in the notes, that we're taught to think about our students, and it doesn't matter what color they are. It's whoever's in that classroom, they matter, right? We have to share this space. You came here for something. You're the teacher, right? So we're all the same, regardless of your level of practice. If you're just beginning or if you've been doing it for a long time, we're all here in the same space. And that's just the same thing now. We are sharing the space in this world. It's not you against me, regardless to where you are in your life, regardless to how you look. You came here, you're here to do something. And with Black Lives Matter, it's just basically a peaceful protest. People peacefully protesting against this one issue. It's all of our issue, because it doesn't matter if George Floyd was white and somebody got off with killing him. I think the world would still be outraged because this cop did not get prosecuted for killing somebody. And to the people that say, this is a Black on Black, well, we have Black on Black crime. It doesn't matter if you're Black or if you're white. When all white people are together, you have white on white crime. When all Asians are together, you have Asian on Asian crime. So it's not a Black on Black crime issue. It's not a white on Black crime issue. It's an injustice issue. When Nipsey Hussle died, the world was outraged. Do you know who Nipsey Hussle is? Mm-hmm. The world was outraged. His killer was Black. His killer went to jail. There was nothing to fight for. but there has been constant police brutality where white police officers killing Black people. I'm sure there has been many cases where a Black cop accidentally killed a white person. They were prosecuted. There was nothing to fight for. What keeps repeating in our history are white cops to kill innocent Black who did something wrong. This person complied, got in trouble for whatever reason, complied, and they died. That has been a constant.
She's upset about it also.
That has been the constant narrative of, our history, where we're doing what we're asked and we're still dying. That's completely unfair. Like, if the cop was arrested, there would be nothing to fight for.
Right.
If the cops were arrested, we would probably still be angry. But if justice was served, there would be nothing to fight for.
Do you feel like a lot of these conversations that go into like Black on Black crime, or like George Floyd, he's not a hero, like he was a bad person, like do you feel like these are like distractions, Crystal?
They are distractions because
prevent from talking about the issue.
It doesn't matter if he did actually do something wrong. I'm not defending the fact that, he didn't deserve to die, because really it's not the police officer's job to decide if he should live or die. Your job is to arrest him and take him to jail, and then his punishment will be served for whatever crime that he committed. You don't get to decide.
It's such a problem where we have like Black people's, what I've noticed. So I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to law school this fall.
Really?
Yeah. And I am so stoked for it, Crystal. And what I've been noticing with a lot of the killing of innocent Black individuals is that you are guilty before you are proven innocent.
Yes.
Which is totally flipped. It's you are innocent until proven guilty. Exactly. And that is just like what's really bothering me about these conversations that are distractions, which are preventing us from focusing and coming together and like demanding change to policies to break down these barriers that prevent Black people from like thriving.
Yeah, because I mean, you have white people that commit crimes, you have Black people that commit crimes, but Black people that commit crimes, they're dying at the scene. White people that commit crimes, they're going to McDonald's before they go to jail. This guy killed 9 people. Like, he killed 9 people, and you're gonna take him to get a cheeseburger before he goes to jail.
And he had a fair due process of being prosecuted.
Yeah. So it's just like I'm not, like I said, I'm not defending the fact that George Floyd was innocent. I really don't know what he was even being arrested for. I can't tell you. It doesn't matter at this point, because whatever crime he committed, that does not mean you get to come out and kill him. Mm-hmm. And then go home to your family like you didn't do anything wrong today.
Yeah. I know it's really skewed, and but I really want to sit on what you said. You said something when you were talking that there is social, like this is about social injustice. Like this is bigger than a Black versus white thing, that like people need to be held accountable. And that's just not what's happening. And that's why there are these.
And that's why everybody, I mean, there's whites, Blacks, everybody right now joining hands against this, because it's not just, like I said, it's not just a Black issue. This is our issue. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You don't imagine at a time right now, Black people looking at white people just because you're white right now, just because the cop was white that killed a Black person. Now every Black person is looking at a white person like, you're a racist killer, right? Like, that wouldn't be right. You're not a racist killer. No. So, I just don't want people to get deterred, from the issue that is going on. And it's so, like, it makes me feel so happy to see that we are really all coming together at this point. And it's not everybody in the world, but the vast majority of people are coming together to fight this issue, because it will bring it. I mean, it really, truly, you pray for world peace. I feel like we will finally be one step closer to it. Like, we can actually live in peace and live around white people or black people, live around white people or whatever, and not feel like you can't trust your neighbor.
Right.
You don't know who your neighbor is going to be.
Yeah.
And so you just, it will just make things even playing field. Like,
It will. Oh, Crystal, what's it like there? Because I know that in Washington, D.C., they're changing the boulevard towards the White House to be Black Lives Matter.
yeah, they have.
What's that? What's going on there? Like, how's that been?
So my heart wants to be there to protest so bad, but I haven't been able to make one.
Well, you have a couple kids on your hands and you have a job, so.
Yeah, so yeah. I really want to go, but my sister went and was able to participate, which I feel really, really happy and really, really proud about. Because there's, like I said, all people, not just Black people. The culture here in DC is one of a kind. And I love the culture here, but so it's really, really peaceful. There's nothing going on. I mean, some people will have your horror stories. You know, there are people out there being antagonists and provoking the police, and then there's some where you're not.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that I mean, that's what the media is portraying. The people that I know that actually went, that was actually there, and I know, like, I want to say 4 or 5 people that were actually at a protest, 5 different ones. They said it was all peaceful. All they felt was love. The energy was like so high.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, I can only imagine, you know, like some people, I mean, if you watch the news, it's really going to bring your frequency down.
I can't watch the news, Crystal.
I don't watch it.
So I can't be, and if I do watch it, you know, because we're around our in-laws, and you know, older people, that's like their connection is the news. And what I've been really doing is like, okay, I'm gonna watch that, because that's what a lot of like normal mainstream people are watching is the news. So I think I need to know that to find a baseline. Not my baseline, but like, what's the world? Like, what's my community? Where are they at?
Right.
And then what I've been doing, and I've always done this, so I have a journalism major, and I've always been one to like find other news sources. So I'm like going into like, I want my news reporters to be of different colors, like different race than me. I want them to come from publications that aren't bought by a big corporation, like nonprofit. Listen to podcasts, listen to every kind of like news I can get, and then and even like from other countries, get their news on something. So that's kind of how I've been since I graduated college, is just kind of like trying to be more like absorbent and just like take that information, because this media has such a strategy to almost like brainwash you.
Exactly.
And it's like the same freaking message, and it's like, this is ridiculous.
Exactly. It's like this is
and then when you hear someone talking, you're like, oh, I know what news you watch.
Exactly.
It's the same thing all day long.
Over and over again. Like my parents do that. They keep it on CNN literally all day long. And I'm like, I don't even understand how y'all sit here and watch this all day long. I cannot.
You know, and it, like you said, it's a low frequency. It's a low frequency.
Yes, I cannot. So when my sister's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful out here. Like, there's nothing going on. Like, everybody is being peaceful. And just like my other friends that went, they were like, oh, this is it right here. Like, change is coming.
That's so awesome to hear, Crystal.
So I want to go so bad though.
Yeah, I need to make it to one. I haven't either, actually. And it's just been, honestly, we've been out of town. And then also I'm trying to, like, with the coronavirus, I think that we also have to be like, depend on like our immunities, our health immunities. I'm still doing distancing, and I'm just kind of wanting to stay healthy. And and I have like a sister with Down syndrome, and I just want to, and my grandma. So those are kind of, I know there's a lot of people who are there sacrificing, and I do need to just do that. I think that's my own fear of like, I just don't want to be exposed to that many germs.
Yeah.
But my mom's like, Lauren, this is the time to get germs. She's like,
I mean,
summer, you can fight it off a lot easier. She's like, you need to get germs.
and the virus. I'm like, I'm not all the way sold that the virus is still here, because no virus is around this damn long. Like, the kind of virus stays around for 2-3 months? Like, what the hell?
The coronavirus, apparently.
Right? Apparently, but it can't survive in 80-degree weather. So, that's something to think about. And
that's what my mom is saying.
Yeah.
So
it's so weak compared to the regular flu.
Mm-hmm.
When you really look at the facts about the coronavirus, like, it's really a weak ass virus.
Yeah, not minimizing the people who have been like impacted by it, because I know that it's like really affected a lot of communities, but yeah, it's just, well, maybe that's something that I really want to try though on my own. Especially like being, someone who's really privileged. I like, that's a way for me to like bring action behind my words, is to like go protest. So that's definitely something I need to start doing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm everybody that's gone, they said, they feel empowered, like they're part of the change.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine how that might feel, like, I'm doing something. And, when change does come, it's 5-10 years from now, and you be like, I was down there protesting.
Or like I know. Or like you called, like, I think there's a lot of ways to put action. Like, we can vote, obviously, but like, I think I have on my phone, I have state senators, state representatives, phone numbers for their office to call them, because I think that's also, like, we forget that like these people who are in power, we elected them. Like, they're representing us.
Yep. There's one thing I saw last night, for his name is Joshua. I can't think of his last name right now, but he was one of the protesters in with the Mike Brown. Where was that at? Shoot, it was just on the tip of my tongue.
I don't know. I can look it up real fast.
Mike Brown. I want to say Missouri, but either way, I know it was for the Mike Brown, when people were protesting for him, for the police officers to be convicted of murdering Mike Brown.
Oh, Ferguson.
Ferguson, yes.
Yeah.
So he was arrested. He was 18 years old when he was arrested, because he tried to set a trash can on fire, and he was arrested. I want to say they gave him. He has served 5 years in jail, and so they have now where they're trying to get him out of jail. Because, like, first of all, he never had any interaction with the police. He's never been arrested. He wasn't a troubled child. He was protesting. He was, trying to fight for justice. Now, setting the trash can on fire may not have been the right thing to do. However, he didn't ever set the trash can on fire. He was caught before he did it. So the trash can was never lit up. And I get that. I get if he was arrested for that, but to give somebody 5 years for attempting to set something on fire, I feel like it's a little bit ridiculous, especially when you have a white kid who rapes a girl behind the trash can, and he don't even serve time in jail. I think he got like 2 months. And I'm like, that is so sad to the young lady that was raped. He served 2 months in jail or something like that. Like, how I just don't understand the leniency on certain crimes and certain people. Somebody almost sets a trash can on fire, and this man rapes a woman behind a trash can. 2 months. Can you imagine the trauma that she has to go through, because justice wasn't even served for her? And they were both white, and people were outraged about that. Like, you mean to tell me he's going home?
And there was even thoughts that he was going to get off on it too. Yeah, it's just well, this is why I'm becoming a lawyer, is because like this system is so messed up. And it's like,
I tell you, last night I just looked up like how to start studying law, like literally last night. I was like, and my mom has been telling me for a long time, you need to be a lawyer, and I'm like, I'm doing all that.
Crystal, but I should tell me the same thing as well. We have smart moms.
Yeah, like that might be a thing, go ahead and go to law school and be a part of the justice system change.
It's just ridiculous what you're saying, because there is actual law, there's actual amendments that are in place to make sure that a Black person, male predominantly, Black male, actually does not receive due process and actually goes to jail and sits there and waits multiple years before their case is processed. Like, there's actual like policy in place to hold down Black men, and it's just like it's just amazing that is still going on, and
that's so unfair.
It's very unfair, and it's something that that needs to be changed. Like, there needs to be radical, like, we should all feel upset that these policies and laws are still in place, and no wonder why there's such a distrust and disconnect between like Black people and police, because this is like a whole conversation in itself.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast show.
Yeah. I mean, there's a cool program which you might like called Yoga Behind Bars, and it's a Washington State program. Have you heard of this?
I have not heard of it, but I came up with a whole program on how I can get into jails to teach yoga.
Okay.
I have a whole program.
As long as you're getting into jails on purpose.
Oh, yeah. I'm asking to come in and come back out.
Yeah.
So go ahead, tell me about the program.
Oh, no, well, it's just, I mean, it might be a good resource for you. So basically you get training, and the focus is like traumatized.
Yes.
The focus is to be yoga, trauma-informed yoga teacher, and then you bring yoga to these inmates, and then here's the kicker: you teach them to become yoga teachers. So they can teach their community in jail yoga.
Yoga, nice.
So it's only Washington. I don't know if they have it in other states. I'm sure they do. I'm going to be moving to another state here, and so I want to become one of these people. So I'm going to start doing research on my end. So I'll let you know like what I learned, if they have like partners in other states. Okay. But what was your idea?
So mine was like creative writing in yoga. What I find when I write, or sometimes I feel like I express myself better through writing. Not for everybody, but for me. And I feel like if you can write your feelings down, I feel like with people who are incarcerated, they don't really have a chance to really write out what they're feeling. Does anybody even ask how you're feeling, what's going on with you, and doing meditation practices and then doing yoga practices with them. And so basically what that would look like is I would come in, we would do a writing practice, and then we will practice yoga and meditation, or maybe just meditation for today, or maybe just writing for the day, but meditation, but yoga always with meditation. And the goal is so that people learn how to really, really connect within and tap into their higher selves, so that when they go back out to society, because when you think better about yourself and you think highly of yourself, you make better decisions. And the goal is basically for them to go back out into society and not go back to jail, because oftentimes they go to jail, they're traumatized by whatever's going on in jail, they go back out into society, commit a crime, and they end up back in jail again. Because there's no, and I think, I know for sure that they do have like some of these programs in some jails. I have one of my biological brothers, he's in jail right now, and I'm not gonna say that he's innocent, he didn't do anything, but what they charged him with, he did not do. So I don't know the full story about what happened between him and the girl that he was dealing with. I know it was some domestic stuff, but they charged him with like stabbing her in the head or something crazy. And I'm like, what? And so my mom is like, he didn't stab her. There was no weapon found. There was no wounds. They didn't even talk to the girl. No pictures, no nothing. Just, all right, we're charging him with this. This is what you did, 12 years.
What?
No legal representation.
Oh my God.
And then I have
bullshit.
Then I have another brother. He's not my biological brother, and I don't even know what he did. He's getting out soon, but he told me that there was a yoga program in the prison that he's in, and that's in California.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, I'm like, you know, after they did that to my brother, which every time he got locked up, it was for something that he didn't do. Like the very first time when he went to juvenile hall, he got locked up. They had no evidence. He was with him and some other kids. It was like 3 of them. They had nothing on them. They had no evidence. They literally had nothing. They didn't have anything that could stick. But my brother was in jail, I want to say maybe like 8 or 9 months for nothing. For nothing.
How old are you when this happened?
I was 19-ish.
Jeez. How did that affect you?
It was heartbreaking. Keep going. We were going back and forth to court, back and forth to court, back and forth to court with hopes that, okay, they're gonna like let him come home today. and having to watch him come in the courtroom and walk back out the courtroom again, back to jail. Like, he's not coming home today. So now we have to wait another 3 or 4 months before we come back to court, and wait another 3 or 4 months. And when I was going to therapy, because at this point, my mom had stopped going. She was like, I can't take it anymore. I need you to go for me. And while I was in therapy, it made me angry with my mom because I was like, you couldn't handle it, but you wanted me to handle it. Like, I was still just a kid, you know? Mm-hmm. And, but I'm like, you know, I didn't even realize how much it affected me until I went to therapy. And I was like, wow, I really have been tormented having to watch my brother go to jail, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He gets out. He's worse than what he was when he went in. He's angrier. We don't know what he's so angry about. We don't know why he's so easily angered. He's never talked about his experiences in jail or what happens in jail, what goes on in jail, or, you know, we don't know. So you get out of jail, you're on probation for a crime that you didn't even really get charged for.
Right.
You violate your probation by somebody having a bat in the car that you're riding in. You know, it's always something so minuscule, and it's like he ends up back in jail. And I'm like, you know, it's really, really just really, really sad. I have one of my other brothers. I have three brothers on my mother's side. He was accused of robbery, for a robbery that he wasn't even at. So his friends robbed somebody. They came back with whoever guy's stuff it was. Now, he knew that they had robbed somebody, but he didn't know that the hat that was in the car. So he got in the car with his friends, and he seen a hat that he liked and put it on his head. They're like, oh, well, he has the hat. And he was like, oh, my friend gave me this hat. I mean, and we're talking about 16, 17-year-old kids, right?
Right.
So he has the hat from the guy that was robbed. The guy does not identify my brother as being there at all. Still, he gets 1 year in prison. Not just regular jail, prison. Went to prison. First offense, never had been in trouble with the law. He went to jail for those couple of months while he was 17, and he got shipped to prison when he turned 18 for a hat.
And now where's your brother at now?
Now he hasn't gone back to jail, thankfully. But all of my brothers, my youngest brother, he's gone to juvenile hall before and never went back, thankfully. But my middle brother, he's in jail now, serving 12 years. I think he has probably like 7 more to go.
Oh my God.
And it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking because I know he's being introduced to a lot of things. I think he's doing drugs in jail. I don't know, but it sounds like he is. And it's heartbreaking because it's like he needs help.
Right. Like help beyond, like he just needs like space to be held for him. So have you been connecting with him? Do you see him? Like,
Yeah.
how does that work?
Well, he's in California. He's in because I'm from California, and
Oh,
so my family's over there. But he is in a prison in California, and he calls every now and again. And I tell him he's gonna have to limit his calls because I'll put money on the phone for him to, call home, and he'll call all day long and run all of the minutes out in one day.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I need you to write me some letters or something because I can't keep putting money on the phone every single day. Like, that's out.
Dang.
But he's doing all right. He has his days where he's okay, and he has his days where he's like, man, I don't want to be in here. He has kids. He's missing out on a lot. He's missed out on a lot of stuff. Having to be back and forth in jail, and it's just sad. It's just sad.
It is really sad. And does it ever just like make you, like, how do you process? Because I know you've done a lot of work like with therapy, and we don't have to get, I don't want you to overshare what you're not comfortable with, but like,
yeah,
on your own, is that what therapy has really done for you? Is like giving you space to process this and like still live and be sad, but not let it like take over? Because I don't even, this just seems really foreign to me. So I'm just curious, like, how you process this like injustice that like your family is experiencing.
It's tough. Sometimes I cry, and I allow myself to really feel sad. I feel sad, and I cry it out, and I pray, and once I do all that, I really feel like it's out of my control. And regardless of how much better I want for my brother and whoever else may be suffering, really, it's their decision. You know what I'm saying? Because my brother, even though he's serving all this time for something that he did not do, he was involved with things that led him to this path. He's 29 years old now, and it's like, I can't live your life for you, and you have to have a change in your own mind so that you can live a better life, and understanding that sometimes stuff happens and you might die due to police brutality, but that's where we're trying to make those changes. But if you try to steer away from those things as much as you possibly can, then you can be better in your mind. You get your mind right, and everything else will follow along with it. And so the only way that I really cope and deal with it is to know that I can't change it if I wanted to. So therefore, I should not be worrying about it. Like, there's literally nothing I can do. I can't go to the jail and let him out. And I can't put him into an institution to help him change, to get, the resources that he needs. Like, there's literally nothing I can do for him. Everything that needs to be done for him, he's going to have to do it himself. And I can give him, tools and the resources and all of this stuff. And ultimately, it's still going to be his decision.
It's on him.
And so I just hope that this time when he gets out of jail, that he will want to do better and take the necessary steps to have a better life and just make better decisions, And so, because we all have to do that. We all just have to make better decisions if that's what we want in life. If we want to live a better life, we make better decisions, we do certain things, and understanding that there's always room for growth, right? So it doesn't matter where you are in your life. It's always going to be another level. That's back to yoga. Like, there's always going to be something else. Like, you know what? I think I want to do this now. Or, you know what? I learned this about myself. I want to improve on this, So the only way I deal with it, like I said, is to know that it's out of my hands. It's in God's hands. And I just pray that, he makes better decisions, or some kind of reform happens where he can have an opportunity to make a change again, because he has some mental issues, and a lot of people, a lot of Black people have mental issues. Not even just Black people, like everybody in the world. Everybody's dealing with some kind of mental illness somewhere. It doesn't matter what walk of life you came from. Like, we're all dealing something. Some may be on a smaller scale and some may be on a larger scale, but we're all literally dealing with something mentally and spiritually. So,
and it gets exasperated when you're in an environment that doesn't foster mental health growth. And
yeah,
your brother, he's in a situation where they're not giving him resources to understand his mental illness. And
yeah,
this is the thing that bothers me about mental illness, is that it's actually mental health. Like,
yeah,
it's mental health. It's just all about like fostering more awareness. It's like working out your mind
yeah,
and understanding, you know, your window of tolerance, understanding your edge, understanding
yes,
your reaction, like
yes,
physically and mentally when something goes on, and then getting resources and tools from a licensed professional or
yeah,
from a book or whatever works for people, and then just flexing that workout. And the shameful thing that your brother is experiencing, besides injustice for being incarcerated for something he didn't do, is that he's not getting the tools to
yeah,
understand his mind.
his mind,
And
yeah.
it's just like,
And
it's
it's sad. And I mean,
exasperated.
sometimes when I hear him and it's like, I know he's not in the right mind space, like the way he's talking about certain things, or even how he sounds when he talks, and I can just hear it, like he's not in a good place. He's not in a good place. And it's sad, you know, like I said, and I just try to, you know, pray for him and keep him in good spirits and good thoughts, and whatever I can do to help him, you know, I absolutely would do. But right now I can't do anything for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the sad part. And it's just like, this has to stop, because I refuse for, you know, no resources to be available to my son. Like, I was on the internet last night and I noticed how, this is why yoga and meditation is so important for me, because
get into that, because
and in my community, right, like there's no resources, or I mean, I'm not going to say there's none, but there's very little resources for us. Like, I never heard of yoga, never thought of yoga. It was never a thing in my mind until I was a full grown adult. And I'm like, what's yoga? And I do some research, and it's supposed to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's good for muscle recovery. I'll try it. You know, not knowing, you know, all of the full benefits of yoga. And so that's why it's so important to me. And the reason why I want to do it in juvenile centers, schools, and like right now I'm on with a library. I'm teaching younger kids.
okay,
But
cool.
it's like, I really want to get involved. And this is not to exclude anybody else, but I know in my community what's not available for us, or what wasn't available for me. But everybody is welcome. You know what I'm saying? And it's not only Black kids in the Black community. You have different races of kids in the Black community as well. So, but I wanted to be the one. I even make my son, like, for punishment, he meditates. And because I feel like once you can, you know, if you start learning how to control your emotions when you're young, then we won't have to teach you how to do that when you're older and don't understand all of these different types of emotions and, you know, all of those things. And so
because so much time has gone by, and like we have created these habitual patterns. Like, that's our response. So if we can learn that response at a younger age, like, just imagine how much more enlightened the upcoming generation will be.
You will think twice about some stuff, because people will make you want to slap them in the face. But if you slap somebody in the face, you're going to jail probably. So if you, like I said, if you have better management, better control over your emotions, you will think before you do things. You will think before you say things. You will think before you respond. And that's that fight or flight. You know, you will, it's like critical thinking. You know, it's just to help manage your anxiety when you go into different places and being around certain things and certain people, and knowing what your triggers are. You know what I'm saying? And knowing how to deal with them and not just respond. Because the way I was brought up, like, my first response was fight. Like, Like if somebody did something that I did not like, or I feel like somebody disrespected me, like my first response was, I have to fight this person. And that's not true. I don't have to fight anybody. You know, I could walk away and go on about my business and know that whatever they are dealing with, it has nothing to do with me.
It's on.
They're mad. I'm not. You know, and my happiness does not rely on how other people act and respond. And so that's what I want to teach my son now that he's, you know, 10 years old, and knowing that somebody is going to piss you off. Kids are mean. Somebody's going to piss you off. Somebody's going to take something from you that don't belong to them. Somebody's going to do something, and you have to learn how to better deal with how to respond. Mm-hmm. Yes, this person took a pencil off your desk. Guess what? Go tell your teacher, have your teacher handle it. Get your pencil back. Easy day. Somebody punched you or kicked you or did something to you, and it hurt, or they did it for no reason or whatever. Teacher, you know. But then you have those instances where you know, the teachers are not getting involved, and this has been an issue for me at my son's school. So now his response is to defend himself. Like, you got to defend yourself now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you have to know when it is necessary, when you have to fight, opposed to when you don't have to.
And
right?
Also his fighting could be like not physical. It could just be like how he speaks, creating that space between him and the bully, because you know, that's something that it's called like the green dot strategy, where like where there could be a fight, but you have these tools to actually like separate yourself from it. Which is hard if our initial response is like defending ourselves. But that's the power of meditation and of yoga, is like it puts us in the rest digest nervous system, which like you can suspend there and like live, and your response system is from a place of consciousness, not from like defensiveness.
And that's how literally everybody in my community, I can probably say, is living on a defense. It's like, I just want to make sure, like, I hope nobody does this today. You know, it's like you're living on edge every day, you know?
Dang, yeah, Crystal, God, that's nuts.
And I'm like, I just do not want my son to feel like he's living on edge. And even with everything that's going on, it's like, I'm not stressing my son. I'm not talking to him about this stuff because I don't want to stress him out. He has 10-year-old issues. This is an adult issue. And I don't want him to have to live on edge. Like when he walks outside, I want him to think he's going to make it to school, or he's going to make it to wherever he's going just fine, and not thinking, hope nobody does anything to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even want him to have that mindset, because I want you to know that you are safe. Even if something bad does happen to you, you have to know and trust fully that God is all power, and he's going to protect you. And even if something bad happens, you know where you're going. You got to know where you are. You're right. And then sometimes, you know, you can think about stuff so much and you attract that shit to you. So
that's what yoga, that's what's really powerful about that practice of yoga, is that it pulls us out of the head and into the body. So we can like begin to pick up on like our sensory feelings. So your son can like start to pick up on like physically what he's feeling. Like when someone does something mean to him, he can physically feel that in his body and get connected to that and create a pathway so that it's his body and mind are connected, and he can respond in a way that is like empowering to him and respectful to your son. And because there is power in this practice, and it's just like something I really want to talk to you about, which we're kind of getting into, is why isn't yoga more prevalent in Black communities? Is that a sign of racism? Like why it's not there?
I wouldn't call that racism. I just don't think a lot of Black people are really receptive to or not receptive to it. But I think it's just foreign. You know, it's just something that wasn't introduced. I feel like there's a big misconception that, oh, you got to be flexible. You got to know how to do certain things with your body in order to do yoga, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
That's like with every culture with yoga.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you should try yoga. I'm talking to this like older white guy. He's like, no, I'm not flexible enough. I'm like,
you don't have to be.
It's not
but
that.
If you want to be.
There's gentle yoga, there's restorative yoga, there's chair yoga.
So many different kinds. So so I just think that it just hasn't been introduced, which is another reason why I want to, make it prevalent. I feel like, it's just that people are, so when you have to meditate, right, like you really have to calm your mind. Mm-hmm. And so if you're so used to, you're so scatterminded, you so much chaos, you get used to that, quieting your mind is very uncomfortable.
Totally. Okay.
And I don't think people just have to get used to it. You know what I'm saying? You have to be in the mindset of wanting to do that. And I just don't think a lot of people that look like me want to. Have you ever heard of Trap Yoga Bay?
Yeah.
So she's doing a whole.
I don't know if we have. Okay, is she from Seattle?
She's from Oakland, California.
Oh, no. Okay, so there's someone in Seattle named her name's, I'm looking her up. She's Trap Vinyasa. It's hip hop yoga, and her name is I'll send you to her so you can connect with her. But her name's Abiola, Abiola, and I'll connect you with her too, because she's doing some pretty phenomenal stuff. But go on with
so she's doing she's connecting with the Black community and introducing a new style of yoga, and I think that is attracting people of color to yoga. I haven't been to one of her classes, so I don't know if she practiced the meditation part, but I don't know if it's really, I don't know if she's connecting with them on the meditation level. I think it's all about the dancing and the twerking that people are drawn to.
But we all have to start somewhere, Crystal.
Yeah.
Like you meet yoga we all meet yoga at different times, and that's why some people are attracted to it, because of the dancing part, or because of like the workout or the stretch, or like the recovery that you're experiencing. Like there's so many ways that we get into it, and then once we get into it, we're like, oh wait, okay, what's happening? A skilled teacher threads in meditation, and people don't even know that that's what they're experiencing.
So I think what she's doing is great, and I think she's really the only one that I could think of right now who's like real big in the Black community.
What's her name?
It's Trap Yoga Bay.
Oh yeah, there she is. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. And then I'll share with you the Trap Vinyasa in Seattle, so you can kind of check her out. Because I know that she goes down to Atlanta. That's where she's from. I need to get her on the podcast too. We were talking about it, and then this was like about a year ago, and then things just happened. So, because I think that you would really like her.
She's in Atlanta, you said?
No, she's in Seattle, but she's from Atlanta. Her family lives there, so I know she does like trainings there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, so I want to ask you, so for the listeners, Crystal does meditation on Mondays, right? You do that every Monday. You hold space for that. And I know that meditation is such an empowering practice for you. And I just kind of want you to like, maybe kind of like close this out with our conversation with like anything that you might want to leave the listeners with, oh no, we got to talk about your podcast. No, hang on, we're not even there yet. Okay, so I got something to say, your podcast. So tell us about that. Like that was actually how I connected with Crystal. So that and her in your awesome like bio for your Instagram account, it's what is it? It says little crazy,
A
little
little crazy, a
sexy.
little sexy, a little,
Go, say
a
it.
little cool, a little crazy, a little sexy, a little cool. There's a song, Janelle
Little rough
Monáe.
around the edges, but I keep it
Oh.
smooth. She missed that part. And I was like, this is like, she embodies us all. I'm like, this is awesome and
Yes.
owns it.
Janelle Monáe, it's the lyrics to Janelle Monáe song. It's called I Like That. And that she has a part in there, that verse that says, a little crazy, little sexy, little cool, little rough around the edges, but I keep it smooth. And I was like, that is me. I had to take that out and put it in my bio. And so I feel like I have a lot to say on a bunch of different issues and topics. And people always say like, man, I never thought of it that way. Or you think I never thought of that way, you know? And I was like, you know, I'm going to start me a podcast where I'm just be talking about yoga and meditation. I'm going to be talking about whatever it is that I feel like talking about, because I got something to say. And I feel like, you know, I was shut down a lot on my opinions and my views and my thoughts, that I suppressed a lot. You know, I just felt like what I had to say didn't matter until therapy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a pretty bright individual, and you know, that confidence thing. And so that's where I got my podcast name from. Like, you know what? I got something to say. And even if you don't want to hear it, I'm gonna say it.
Mm-hmm. And that I think right there, Crystal, is so empowering, because it's really easy for us to, when we see people like you and people who are like living in their authentic truth and like on this journey of learning more about yourselves, like being, I like to think of it as like being a scientist. You're just like curious, and you like, it's hard, you might have done something wrong, you might have made a mistake, or maybe it's something really great. But instead of it thinking about like, you're like curious about it. You're like, well, why am I feeling like this? Or like, why is this happening? Why did I respond like that? Like, when we can start to live in a space where we live like that, and then we articulate what's on in the inside, and we're living our truth.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is like that creates space for other people to be empowered to live in their own truth.
Exactly.
And it starts to break down these boxes that have been put around us that are not like, that we keep carrying, that aren't ours. And
aren't ours. And
it's just really cool that you're doing that, you're breaking your boxes, and that you are holding space for yourself.
Yeah. That's why on the bottom of my little podcast thing, it says to be the match that sparks somebody else's fire, because you never know, somebody else might be over here sparking and it's going out, you know, you just be the match that set them on fire, you know. So I always wanted, I feel like I took a test.
Keys in you.
I took this test a long time ago to like find out what my strengths were, and one of them was was influential, or I was influential, and I was like, really? So I'm like, but I'm learning, you know, how drawn people are to me sometimes, whether it be my look or what I'm talking about. And that's all people. It's not just, you know, Black people. So I'm like, you know, I'm gonna talk.
Well, it drew
and be
me to you. Yeah, I mean, it drew me to you. But I look for people who, like my brother James, he's 15, and he says this. He says, Lauren, game sees game. Like, and he said that to me about a year ago. And then like, but it does, like, I see you.
Yes.
So like, I see your, like, your influence. Like, I see your like strength, your conviction, like you consciously like living and breathing, and I just see you. And I think like it's because I don't want to like toot my own horn, but it's also because I've been doing
Girl,
a lot of
toot your
work.
horn.
Well, it's because like I've been doing toot toot. Well, like, but like I've been doing a lot of work, and I've been doing a lot of like I've been challenging myself, and
yes,
especially with like this whole new uprising of killing and police brutality, it's brought a new awareness for me. Okay, Lauren, you gotta do some more work. And so, but like, so I see the work that you've been doing, and that's why I just feel like why I wanted to talk to you is because I see that in you, because I know I've been doing that as well. So just thanks, Crystal, for doing the work. So I think that's like where we grow. Like,
and most times that's what happens, or that's what draws people to you.
Yeah. Oh, you sound like you're underwater again.
Oh.
Okay, try it again.
I was saying most times when people are when you're drawn to somebody, it's because you see yourself in them, or it's a part of them that you wish that you had or that you want to have. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? I like that.
Yeah, I get that. Well, before we sign off, Crystal, I know that you have a retreat in October.
Yeah, I'm it's probably going to be postponed. I don't know if people are going to want to travel, or if they're going to be too scared or whatnot. It'd probably be postponed though.
Okay, well, just keep me posted with that, and
tell
us a little bit about your meditation Mondays, like what, how we can connect with you to become a part of that.
Yep. So on Mondays I hold meditation, free meditation, because I think it's very important for us all to just quiet our mind and calm our minds and really take a step back and check our mental, especially with everything that's going on with the pandemic and with, police brutality and things that we're trying to change. I think that it's important that we all come together and meditate, really make an imprint on the universe and, in connecting and keeping that frequency high. And like I said, I think the meditation is very important, to do that, to really check yourself so that you can now know and think where you and put yourself in places where you're able to make a change. Because oftentimes, we get chaotic in our thinking and thinking about the present and thinking about the future and thinking about things that don't matter. And we forget to be in today. What can you do today? What can you do right now for today? And then tomorrow you just take another step. And so I think that it's important that we just, spiritually check ourselves, is what I like to call it, jack yourself up spiritually and just breathe, while you can. And I feel like, with the hashtag, I can't breathe, like you can breathe. And while you still have breath, you need to breathe, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you living.
Jeez. We just need to hold space for what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, breathe life back into yourself, breathe into your dreams, breathe into your aspirations, breathe into your family, breathe into, whatever it is that you feel like needs to be resuscitated, bring life back to you. Breathe through that, and starting with your meditation and your mindset, and the rest will follow. Yeah.
If that doesn't make you want to meet up with Crystal on Mondays, I don't know what. Yeah,
come meet me.
Yeah,
you'll love it.
That's what yoga does. It like bridges us, it yokes us. So
yeah.
Thank you, Crystal, so much for sitting down.
Thank you so much for having me, Lauren. Thank you.
You're welcome. This was my honor, and all of Crystal's links will be in the show notes below, and please go follow and connect with her on Instagram. And this is what quarantine and COVID-19 has taught me. I'm sure it's taught you, Crystal, that there are no bounds. Like,
there are no bounds.
Just because we are in different locations, our yoga community is big, it's strong, it's on fire, and let's just yoke and connect. So Shanti, peace, Crystal.
Same to you.
You.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.